Call this meeting to order. Before I go into recognition of members present, I want to poll the council. Mr. Sutherland said that he is going to be perhaps 15 minutes late. So I want to ask if there's any comments on this tardiness, whether the council thinks it's appropriate. So anybody to my right wish to speak on the city administrator's tardiness? Is it okay? No objection? Any to my left? Okay, so he's said he'd be late, and we're going to allow this tardiness. Recognition of the members present. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. The city administrator will be here, and that the record is being kept by the city clerk, Ms. Hughes. If you would all please join the council in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I think I might have an error here. I have 2 people signed up for public comment. Is that right? There's nobody else that wishes to speak in public comment? Thank you. So let me start off with Kathleen Dizadzio. Okay, Jaggio. Would you please step forward, state your name and address for the record?
And is there anyone that did not get a copy of my light reading?
Okay, and so let me just say, Ms. Hughes, that I have a copy for you. Oh, you have a copy already to include in the minutes. And that Ms. DeJazio, J-A-J-O, okay, J-Jo, okay, Jajo.
Means grandfather.
And is going to read from her prepared remarks, but that should be 3 minutes approximately.
Correct.
And so we'll go from that, and if you would please start.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kathleen Jajo, and I'm here representing the abutters and neighbors of the property at 60 Bayview Road. That's why there's so many people here. Historically, this property was a 2-family year-round home with several seasonal cottages built well before Saco had zoning laws. Prior to recent developments, it contained a 2-family house that may or may not have been rented, as well as maybe a half a dozen rustic cottages in a pine grove with sand and gravel roads that may have attracted visitors in July and August. Today, it is a nearly empty wasteland, blasted, clear-cut, and bulldozed by a developer. When zoning laws were put in place, the intent was always to take these non-conforming uses and make them conform as much as possible in the future. Over the years, Mr. Lambert has denied several applications from would-be developers to turn these into condominiums. You will find documentation from several of these prospective developers in the submitted package. The most recent owner of the property was originally told the same thing by Mr. Lambert. Letter attached on February 8th, 2019. The letter was also sent to abutters and was the only communication directly with the abutters by the city until the plans for the 8-unit condominium complex was to be presented to the planning board. Please let us know why Mr. Lambert made this change, and how does it conform with the current zoning codes when it didn't for so many. The notice sent on February 8th, 2019 stated that the abutters had 30 days to appeal the decision of Mr. Lambert, but since that decision was to only allow 1 single-family home, the abutters did not object. Now Mr. Lambert is telling the planning board that his decision to allow this condominium complex cannot be changed because no one filed an appeal to his decision, even though he changed his decision. Please let us know how it is that Mr. Lambert is allowed to change his decision about the non-conforming use from a one-family home to 6 to 8 condominiums without giving proper notice to the neighborhood abutters. Why bother having a planning department, zoning laws, and/or planning board if Mr. Lambert can circumvent all of these at a whim? Mr. Lambert also waived the fee for the initial project, which means all the work done by the city employees on behalf of this developer are being paid for by the tax dollars of the neighbors and abutters who are objecting to this. The new owner, Estates at Bayview, then arrived at the land with chainsaws, bulldozers, control burn of brush by the fire department, and finally blasting crews. When the land had been raised and a huge hole created in one corner of the property, the developer then submitted plans for approval for 8 residential homes, 1 and 2 stories. That is what the large sign said. I'm sorry, I guess I'm not reading fast enough. Didn't think it was going to take this
True,
long.
I didn't either. So,
Okay.
so there's not a, it's not a debate. Okay. Yes, ma'am, you may continue on, and we'll let you finish it off.
Thank you.
Please.
The CEO appears to be working with the developer to help him get this approval, rather than working for the residents and taxpayers to make sure this does not negatively impact the neighborhood. When the neighbors and abutters heard this new plan, they were not impressed and organized to fight the development. Reasons are many. First, it does not conform to either previous use of the property or fit with today's zoning, which is R1A, and would allow no more than 2 homes to be built. Second, these units are slated to be condominiums, which are commercial properties not allowed in the R1A zone. Next, that means properties are going to be allowed weekly rental, which means it becomes one big Airbnb, which will significantly impact the neighborhood and not in a good way. Finally, if this had been the intention of the new owner from day one, which it was, nothing should have been done on this property until it had been discussed with the abutters and brought before the planning board. During the course of the fight, we, the neighbors, discovered that the developer was overbuilding significantly, even based on this new interpretation from our CEO, that the new use does not increase the non-conforming use of the property, which the neighbors vehemently dispute. When this was pointed out to the CEO, he did make the developer scale back the project, but allowed him to keep habitable living space of 2 buildings that had been removed from the property in 2017 by a previous owner. I have included the CEO's memo and calculations that allows this. If you remove units 9, 10, and 11, the habitable living space would decrease to 5,497 square feet and change the number of units allowed, even based on what we feel is the CEO's faulty logic. There is also a discrepancy in how many buildings actually still were habitable when this property was purchased, but since most of the structures have been removed and the remaining one is definitely not habitable, although considered in the CEO's calculation, we believe this makes our argument stronger that the land is diverted to the R1A zoning and must follow the rules of that designation. We have also included a letter from the city attorney dated January 22nd, warning the developer not to rip down the existing structures until permission had been granted to build his condominiums, as once they cease to exist, the law says he has forfeited the right to rebuild. We, the neighbors and abutters, argue this is exactly what has occurred. Our zoning laws on nonconforming use states, discontinuance, Article 7, nonconformance 5-3. A nonconforming use which is discontinued for a period of 12 months may not be resumed. The uses of the land, building, and structures shall thereafter conform to the provisions of this ordinance. The nonconforming use ceased longer than 12 months ago. How is it that it can go forward in violation of our current zoning laws? Cottages and houses have not been occupied since September 2018, so the land should now be R1A zone, and all the rules should be conforming to those of R1A zones. Mr. Lambert continues, in our opinion, to misrepresent facts to favor the developer. We have included an August 29th memo in which he claims that the property consisted of 74,467 square feet, when in fact it only contains 58,415 square feet. That is a $16,052 square foot less, which is almost a quarter of the total land mass. He then continues that the square footage for the buildings is only 9,972, but the plans submitted state that the total proposed impervious square footage will be 25,642. Mr. Lambert states that not all impervious surfaces are considered in his calculations. Why not? At the site walk, we were unable to determine where the water lines were, which made us question whether DigSafe had ever been called for demolition. We also noted that the paperwork submitted for the asbestos abatement was not current and stated the abatement was not for demolition. This concerned us. We asked for clarification. That was when we were told that City Hall was too busy to answer our questions and stopped contacting them. That's why we're here.
No, I'm sorry.
We were able to contact the state and
Yep.
receive the answers, but we shouldn't have had to do that. If your job is to make sure that the rules are being followed, the answers to important questions like that should be at your fingertips. We could continue with specific issues. I could go on ad nauseum.
Right.
But I think you get the gist of our concern, and we'd really like somebody to investigate that for us.
Yes, so can I get you to write your contact information on here?
I would be happy to.
Because you've raised a number of questions, and I want to make sure you do get an answer.
Okay. I've been using my...
In cursive. Yes, ma'am.
Trouble communicating. I have her email address.
Oh, you have her email also. Okay, good. Yes, thank you very much.
And I also have this, I told Michelle, I have this scanned. I have the whole thing in
Oh.
electronic format.
Oh,
So
would you get the electronic copy to Michelle, because that's so much easier. Before I call Ms. Lucas, are you all set now?
I'm all set, but I think that she doesn't want to talk anymore. She just was giving me her time.
Oh, okay, great. Then let me ask Mr. Scheinman, do you have anything that you would like to tell us about the school board?
Yes, on the 30th, we had a presentation by TA, Thornton Academy, which they're doing a great job. I mean, everybody at the meeting that felt that way. It was a detailed report that I don't know if you have hard copy. You should have hard copy of the report. And there were a lot of questions asked, and it's obviously a very positive thing for our community, and the efforts being made to coordinate their efforts with the rest of our school efforts were made clear in the meeting. There are ongoing efforts and to make our students be in a better position to take advantage of what Thornton Academy has to offer. And they, in terms of the thing that we know a little bit less about from the report is we know that a certain percent of their student body is from Saco here, but I don't know, it's in the 50% or something. There's a good percent that's not from here.
It's
but when they break down,
64%.
what is it?
64%.
64% is Saco?
922 students representing
you.
64%.
Okay, but the remainder are not. They were not broken down in terms of the achievement levels. It is quite apparent that the achievement levels of Thornton Academy are a lot higher than compare favorably to other communities in the state. They compare very favorably in almost every respect. And so that says a lot. It also says, and one of the things that's not in the report is the fact that most communities don't have the facilities they have. So our students get the benefit of that. Also, it was also brought out in the report that one of the benefits for Saco students is that they do meet and they do work together with people from Asia, from other communities, and I think Rennie, the headmaster, I think he feels that's a plus. Even his own, he has a student, a child in junior, and the fact that they bring home people from other areas of the world, I think is good for our community, and I mean that's the way he felt it was, and I do too. Okay, thank you. Any questions about that?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Scheinman.
Thank you.
The next thing is I'm dropping back to the general section. First of all, I want to point out the Census Bureau is looking for census takers. You can apply by going to the website 2020census.gov/jobs or by dialing 1-855-JOB-2020. And that would be very helpful. They need plenty of census takers after April 1st. The next item up is I want to introduce County Commissioner Al Sicard. This coming Wednesday at the County Government Building, the two people that we have nominated for the Spirit of America Award will be presented their award, and that is Mr. Rob Biggs and Mrs. Jean Saunders. Al, do you want to say anything invitational to be able to get people there?
Sure. First of all, congratulations to Rob and Jean. We look forward to seeing you folks Wednesday. It's open to the public, family, friends, if you want to invite them. Spirit of America Foundation is a 501c3 public charity established in Augusta in 1990 to honor volunteerism. And this tribute is given to local individuals, organization, and projects of considerable community service. And you folks will be recognized along with nominees from, I believe, 28 of the 29 York County towns and cities. So we look forward. It's Wednesday at 3:30 at the York County Government Building right there in Alfred. So thank you, Saco, for participating, nominating these fine folks, and we look forward to seeing anybody that can make it on Wednesday.
Thank you. And the time?
It starts right at 3:30.
Right at 3:30
Right.
in the York County Government Building.
Exactly, the old jail, as we call
Mrs.
it.
Saunders, if you may stand, Mr. Biggs, if you might stand so that the audience can say hello and thank you very much.
For
These
the
two
folks
folks
that may
have
not know,
taken...
Rob is with Saco Main Street, and Jean is for age-friendly Saco. So very worthwhile organizations here for the
Yep,
community.
both of those individuals have taken their individual 501c3 charitable organizations to new levels in helping the citizens of Saco, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Al. The next up is the extra mile recognition, people that go the extra mile, and we've identified actually 3 people for that, particularly Rick Milliard, and that's because he's on almost every committee we have. No, not actually, but he is a mainstay in several committees. He's taken over as acting chair, as the vice chair of Shoreline. He's a solid member of Coastal Waters. He's on the Energy Committee. Everybody loves to have an electrical engineer on their committee, and so he's the go-to electrical engineer. If there are other electrical engineers out there who would like to be on committees, we definitely like our electrical engineers, and certainly Rick. And also Gary Marston, who served for a long time as chair of Coastal Waters and helped develop the Coastal Waters Commission into the organization it is today, in addition to the spin-off organization under Ordinance City Code 4.39, which is Coastal Waters .2, which is Shoreline. And so we thank Gary for that service. And the third recipient isn't on our agenda. It's just that Don Roth is an employee of the city, and I think it's fitting to recognize an employee of the city that just goes out and does so many different things. I think everybody in the council has benefited from Don coming by, and most every single city department has. And so we're also adding Don Roth as for the extra mile recognition. And that's not a county recognized recognition, but it's one that we can in the city. With that recognition, we get on to the consent agenda. So, do we have... Okay, well, there's only one present, but, so if all of the extra mile recipients would stand, and there we are. And the rest of them are here in spirit, and so we thank you. And actually, we can't thank you enough, but we thank you. If I could have a motion for to accept the consent agenda.
Moved. Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Minthorn, seconded by Councilor Smart. Does anyone wish the one item on the consent agenda to be removed? Nothing to my right, seeing nothing to my left. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
The consent agenda passes 7-0. Cushing, you are now the warden for Ward 7, just in time for tomorrow's election.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I just wanted to update you. The city administrator appears as though he won't be attending. He's locked in a parking garage.
It's locked
Go
in the
figure.
parking garage. Okay. So is there any objection, because under the
city.
charter, the city administrator can be excused. So is there any objection by any councilors to my left to excusing the city administrator from this meeting? Seeing none, any objection to my right? So I see that by consensus, the city administrator is excused from the meeting, and should we send the police? Do we even know which parking garage it is?
Well, it appears as though he plans on taking the shuttle bus at 7:45.
Oh, okay. So fortunately, we have the shuttle bus. There's a shuttle bus at 7:45. So by the time he gets here, maybe we'll be adjourned. So thank you all very much. And the next item on the agenda is a motion by Councilor Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
Celestial Sausage LLC, doing business as Ricetta's Saco, has applied for a new special entertainment permit. The permit will be concurrent with the establishment's liquor license. The applicant has paid all applicable permit fees, and the clerk has properly advertised the public hearing in accordance with the Saco City Code, Chapter 93, Entertainment 93, Section 2. Staff recommends approval. I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Doyle, seconded by Councilor Gay, to open the public hearing on a license, a special entertainment permit for Celestial Sausage LLC. Is there anyone wishing to step forward and speak to this matter? Anyone at all? Seeing none, Councilor Doyle.
Mr. Mayor, I think we have to vote. We did not vote.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, absolutely right. So, are there any comments on opening the public hearing? To my right? Seeing none. Any to my left? Seeing none. Councilor Archer? Aye. Councilor Gay? Yes. Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
So the public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to step forward to speak to this matter? Anyone at all? Seeing none. Councilor Doyle.
Thank you. I move to close the public hearing and be it ordered that the City Council grant the new application submitted by Celestial Sausage LLC, doing business as Ricetta's Saco, for a special entertainment permit to be concurrent with the establishment's current liquor license. Move to approve the order.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Doyle, seconded by Councilor Copeland to close the public hearing. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. So the next is Councilor Copeland. Do you have a motion?
I do. At the June 10th workshop, members of the Coastal Waters Commission brought forward changes to the Chapter 4, Article 7, Section 39, that would establish a time limit for an appeal of a decision by the Coastal Waters Commission. Staff recommends approval. I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Copeland, seconded by Councilor Doyle, to open a public hearing on an amendment to Chapter 4 of the Administrative Code. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Seeing none, Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to comment on this amendment to Chapter 4? Actually, 4.39. Anyone at all? Seeing none, Councilor Copeland.
I move to close the public hearing and further move to schedule the final reading of amendments to Chapter 4, Administrative Code, Article 7, Section 39, for November 18th, 2019.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Copeland, seconded by Councilor Minthorn. And any comments to my right? Seeing none, any comments to my left? Seeing none, Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
Motion to close the public hearing passes 7-0. Next up is a motion by Councilor Copeland.
At the June 10th workshop, members of the Coastal Waters Commission brought forward several changes to Chapter 118 that would strengthen the language in the ordinance and create a harbor master position that would be Maine Criminal Justice Academy certified. Since that time, the Public Works Director, Police Chief, and Finance Director have reviewed and made additional recommended changes. Staff recommends approval. I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Copeland, seconded by Councilor Smart, to open a public hearing on amendment to Chapter 118. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Seeing none, Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
Motion to open the public hearing passes 7-0. Does anyone wish to come forward to speak on the amendment to Chapter 118? Anyone at all? Anyone at all? Yes.
There were two additional items.
So if you would step to the microphone, state your
James Katz,
name
I'm
and
chairman
address.
of the Coastal Waters Commission. I
Thank
live
you,
at
sir.
3 Abbey Lane in Saco.
Yes, sir.
There were two further clarifications that we were requesting to be looked at in the regulation. One was at 118.3 under definitions. The harbor master will be appointed by the Saco Chief of Police and not by the Director of Public Works. And the other item was at 118-4, which had to do with governance, and that the position of dock master would be handled by the Human Resources Department and the facilities manager, and the dock stewards will answer to the facilities manager and receive direction from the harbor master. And those two would be in keeping with changes that were made by staff and by outside counsel to the regulation to keep it consistent throughout itself.
Thank you.
I have
thi-
those two, and the
Yeah.
city manager was supposed to be here.
No, but I think he has gotten the amendments written up, and so at the second reading,
And we're in and we're good.
we'll make those amendments and presumably find a second for them, and that will change the ordinance to match your request. No, thank you. Any other comments at all? No? Anything else? That's it? Okay. Councilor Copeland.
I move to close the public hearing, pardon me, and further move to schedule the final reading of the document titled Amendments to Chapter 118 Harbor, River, and Waterfront for November 18, 2019.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Copeland, seconded by Councilor Doyle, to close the public hearing and to move the second and final reading to November 18th, and that this will include 2 amendments to be assigned and read. I'm sure they'd be friendly amendments, but we'll identify someone to read them
I'll
and
read
second
them.
them for you.
I'll read them.
Okay, all right, yep. So we'll,
They were mine.
yep, okay. So we'll assign you to read those amendments and accept them as friendly amendments. So, any comments to my, so the motion to close the public hearing has been made and seconded. Any comments to my right? Seeing none, any to my left? Seeing none, Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to close the public hearing and move the second and final reading to November 18th passes 7-0. Next up is a public hearing. Councilor Johnston.
As written in the background of the City Council item commentary on the public hearing for the zoning site plan and subdivision ordinances that describes in detail the entire zoning ordinance and revision process, this abbreviated and excerpted section will be read from the background of the complete item commentary. Background beginning with, on February 20th, 2018, the City Council voted to adopt the 2018 update of Saco's comprehensive plan. The 2018 comp plan update was the result of nearly 2 years of review and discussion by the ad hoc committee and city staff. Community's next step was to update the zoning ordinances to align with the city's land use vision, the most forward-thinking land use policies in the state of Maine that ensures financial stability, environmental sustainability, and provides the opportunities and accessibility to all. The draft 3 of the zoning ordinance then went to a planning board public hearing on October 22nd, 2019, where over 50 people attended and provided valuable input, valid concerns, and comments. The Historic Preservation Commission held a public hearing on October 22nd, where several people attended. The planning board continued the zoning ordinances discussion at their October 29th meeting, heard additional public comments, and approved a draft report to go to the City Council for acceptance. The same evening at the public hearing to be held at the City Council meeting on November 4th, 2019. At that October 29th meeting, the Planning Board directed staff to review the new recommendations for revisions and report back to the Planning Board at their November 5th, 2019 meeting. Subsequent to the October 29th Planning Board meeting, City staff reviewed the recommendations for revision and changes. Many of these recommendations and revisions will require further research and merit discussion at the Planning Board level. As a result, staff recommends extending the process through spring, being able to ensure that we have captured all the necessary revisions. This extension enables us to move forward with one cohesive document. The City Council will still hold a public hearing for the proposed revised zoning ordinances on November 4th, 2019. The Historic Preservation section of the zoning ordinance has received a positive recommendation from the Planning Board, with the second and final reading and vote of approval set for November 18th, 2019. Draft 3 of the zoning ordinance, site plan review ordinance, and subdivision ordinance is posted online. Links to the specific ordinances and proposed zoning maps are following. Recommendation, staff recommends the following: that the City Council hold a public hearing as noticed, that the City Council refer to the zoning, site plan, and subdivision ordinance excluding Article 19, Historic Preservation and Zoning Map, back to the Planning Board, that the City Council accept the Planning Board report on the proposed historic preservation section, Article 19 of the proposed zoning ordinance, that the City Council sends the historic preservation section, Article 19 of the proposed zoning ordinance, to a second and final reading and vote on November 18th, 2019. I move to open the public hearing on the zoning site plan and subdivision ordinances and zoning map.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Smart, to open a public hearing on the zoning site plan and subdivision ordinances and the zoning map. Any comments to my right? Seeing none, any comments to my left? Very good. The public hearing is now open.
Got a vote?
I'm sorry, and the vote. So Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer.
Yes.
The motion to open the public hearing passes 7-0. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to step forward and speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Fennell, 745 Portland Road. I'm been a resident of Saco for 62 years, a resident of Portland Road for 61 years. In September, I learned that the Zoning Review Committee, at a public forum, that the single-family homes would no longer be permitted on Portland Road. In 1981, I was given a piece of land by my folks to build a home in back of theirs on the Portland Road, and I've lived there ever since, and have no place I would rather live than where I am. And along with myself, my neighbors on one side, the Bergerons, and on the other side, the Lombards, they've had ideas of giving their children a piece of land in order to build a home on. And we have a daughter, and we may want to do the same also. The committee has heard our concerns, and it looks like they will be adding the single-family homes back to the Portland Road zone with conditions. So I hope the City Council would support that. It's been a good place to live, and provided the conditions are appropriate, I'll present that idea to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
And that will be heard, but we're postponing that whole thing for another few months.
Just want to make sure I had the opportunity at the public forum.
Yes, sir. No, thank you very
hearing.
much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Because mobile homes are an important part of any community. Any other comments at all? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Linda Fenderson. My husband and I have a farm on at 97 New County Road in Saco, and we're farmers. And that has been zoned farming for, I don't know for how long, but forever. And now it's going to be rural residential. I am very concerned about our taxes going up and our ability to be able to stay on the farm as a farm. I think that's wrong. And I don't know what we can do about it. I feel like I'm helpless, and that I need to be sort of grandfather clause or something so that we don't get those higher taxes.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no, as I understand, they're looking at a name change from rural residential because it does give that connotation. Certainly conservation zone, which is what it's called currently, is a nice name, perhaps agricultural zone, but that's going to be coming up in a few months.
Right.
I am very concerned that, I agree with you, that farms are a very important part of Saco's.
We intended to keep it as a farm, you know, and try to make it stay a farm for forever. And
Right.
I don't know what this is going to do, because our taxes, people are going to be going down our throats trying to buy the land now because it's residential.
Right.
So, all right.
So
Thank
it's a
you.
concern. Thank you very much, Mrs. Fenderson. Any others? Yes, sir. Come forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Anthony Armstrong. I'm a real estate broker with SVN The Urbanic Group in Portland, and I'm a resident in Cape Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Is that all? Microphone working okay tonight? I guess.
Again?
Microphone's working okay tonight?
It is, yeah, seems to be anyway.
It has more to do with me than the microphone.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here tonight, as I have been before, representing really two clients. One client is the O'Donnell Trust, which owns about 30 acres of undeveloped land on the southwest corner of Cascade Road and Portland Road. And they also own the Elegant Homes mobile home park. But that 30 acres of land, it's actually more like closer to 40 acres of land, is subject to development opportunities, pressures, et cetera. So we got involved with this process a few weeks back, and I first want to compliment the staff of the city for the incredibly hard work they've done on this draft ordinance, and it does get complicated. I've looked at a lot of ordinances in my time, and I must say this is kind of a breakthrough, the way they've approached it and trying to simplify it for the residents and for other developers, et cetera, who approach that ordinance. At the same time, there were some issues there that were brought up in regard to the property that I'm involved with at that intersection. Namely, there were some issues with the definitions of a gasoline / convenience store / gasoline station. Also, there were some loose ends, I think, in regards to the density of housing that could be developed in that area as the ordinance evolved in draft form. And thirdly, there were some questions about the mobile home overlay district and where mobile home parks could go in that new Portland Road zone. So staff has responded to our questions, and we're working on all those kinds of things and those issues, and I think that's great. So we really appreciate that. I think the time that's now been pushed out will allow us to deal with those issues. The other client I have that is on the Ocean Park Road, and the issue that came up there really kind of is a broader issue for the town. Currently, the ordinance allows what I would call double density for 55 plus or senior housing, certain kinds of senior housing. And this seems to have been eliminated in these early drafts. And I may have missed something, but I think it was. So I went back and looked more closely at the comprehensive plan and the updated comprehensive plan. And I can see there's, like most towns, there's a lot of concern about affordable housing and affordable housing for senior citizens. And it even specifically mentions that the opportunities that can come with increasing the density for senior housing, which have really less need for land area per unit. And of course, that provides opportunities for reducing the cost of that housing. So that's an issue that comes up in the area that I'm working in and some other zones. And I think that the city ought to think about, and the planning staff and the planning board ought to think about ways to encourage affordable housing and affordable housing for seniors. And one of the ways to do that is to keep higher levels of density for that kind of housing. So I'm glad that the city staff will continue to work on that as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Anyone else wish to? Yes, ma'am. Come forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Cornelia Sawyer, and I live at 1 Plymouth Drive here in Saco. And I would just like to, again, relate these planning changes, zoning changes, back to the situation that we have at 60 Bayview. Because I noticed when I looked at the introduction to these planning changes that one of the goals of this zoning restatement was to reduce or eliminate the number of non-complying sites that exist in Saco. And clearly 60 Bayview is a non-conforming site, and we really would like to push the issue to make sure that that is reverted to R1A status. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Clavette, our Economic Development and Planning Director.
Wanted to read for the record 2 letters that were received by the department on behalf of a couple of folks. This particular letter is received by Chad Brannon, Principal Engineer, Civil Engineer Principal for Fieldstone Land Consultants. And if I could read for the record, I would like to...
Please do.
Okay. It's addressed to Ms. Prescott. RE 321 Lincoln Street Apartments, 57.5 plus or minus acre parcel, Lincoln and Bradley Streets in Saco. Dear Ms. Prescott, as agent for the John Flatley Company Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLLC Fieldstone, is hereby submitting this letter for consideration for tonight's City Council hearing and the proposed zoning ordinance revisions. We are submitting this letter in support of the planning staff's recommendation to delay the vote on the proposed zoning revisions. As you know, we were just informed of the proposal to modify the zoning for the subject property at 321 Lincoln Street from the mixed-use 4 MU4 zone to the medium-density residential MDR zone at our meeting with the planning staff on Monday, October 28, 2019. This news was a surprise to our client as they had met with staff earlier this year prior to executing a purchase and sale agreement on the property, and this zoning change was not shared at this meeting. The news of this proposed rezoning raised many questions and concerns that were shared with staff at our meeting. In our opinion, there are many factors that need to be considered in rezoning the subject property. The property is unlike any other property in the area as it consists of 57.5 plus or minus acres of land and spans between 2 roads. Given the unique nature of this property, we believe serious consideration should be given to this property remaining in the MU4 zone, as it gives us more flexibility to the planning and overall development potentials of the property. This flexibility would benefit all parties involved. The MDR district provides for the same residential density as MU4 district, but it limits the style of structures and the height of the structure, which ultimately would yield more buildings and more sprawling development. With the MU4 zoning, a proposed development of the same density could be consolidated, thereby providing additional buffering, open space area for recreational use, which ultimately leads to a better development for the owner and the community. Many of these concerns and questions were raised at our meeting with planning staff, which is why we support staff's recommendation to delay the vote on these proposed zoning changes. Everyone stands to benefit from delaying this vote so that more thought can be put into this proposed zoning change. We appreciate your time and consideration. Please do not hesitate to contact me should you have any questions. Very truly yours, Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLLC, Chatty Brannon, PE, Civil Engineer Principal. And I do have another letter that actually articulates in greater detail what Tony Armstrong came up, and if you would like me to read that letter for the record, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Thank you. Please do.
All right. This letter is sent out to the City of Saco City Council, City of Planning, Saco Planning Department. Attention, Denise Clavette, Planning and Development Director, 300 Main Street, Saco, Maine. RE addendum to the October 18, 2019 letter regarding the proposed zoning ordinance and the Portland Road District. Dear Denise, this letter is intended as an addendum to the letter I sent on October 18, 2019, and contains suggested revisions to the proposed zoning ordinance regarding certain uses in the Portland Road District, gas stations and convenience stores, mobile home parks, and master plan developments as follows. Convenience stores and gas stations in Portland Road District. I propose adding gas stations and convenience stores as conditional uses in the Portland Road District and other appropriate districts, and defining them as follows. Convenience store, a retail business selling convenience merchandise, including but not limited to items such as foodstuffs, non-prescription medical supplies, sanitary supplies, newspapers, emergency home repair articles, household cleaners, toiletries, other similar items, and including motor vehicle fuels or electric charging stations on premises, and which may include a fast food restaurant as an integrated part of the business operation. Gas station, buildings and premises where gasoline and other motor vehicle fuels may be dispensed, including retail sales of oil, grease, batteries, tires, automobile accessories, other retail sales consistent with a convenience store, and including but not limited to other related uses such as car washes, vehicle repairs, and electric charging stations. Under mobile home parks, the proposed zoning ordinance allows mobile home parks as a conditional use in the Portland Road District. Section 713 of the proposed zoning ordinances sets forth the standards and requirements for mobile home parks, but does not establish minimum lot and yard requirements. In order to clarify these requirements, I propose an amendment to the proposed zoning ordinance which expressly incorporates the existing mobile home park overlay district and the mobile home park overlay district minimum lot and yard requirements, table 412-2, to the zoning ordinance, enclosed with this letter for reference. Under the master plan developments, the master plan development section, Article 8 of the proposed site plan review ordinances, MPD, allows mixed-use plan developments in the Portland Road District upon approval by the planning board. This section encourages multifamily dwellings among the permitted uses within this type of development. However, the section does not specify whether the dimensional requirements included in Table 4.1, 4-1 of the proposed zoning ordinance apply to MPDs. The approval criteria listed for the MPDs indicates that the overall character of these developments should be urban in character and provide highly integrated development of diverse mixed uses. Emily Cole Prescott, city planner, has stated that the MPD section gives the planning board flexibility in determining appropriate dimensional standards in these developments, but the ordinance is vague as currently written, needs to be revised to expressly support and authorize such flexibility and provide parameters for determining the appropriate density. We propose that MDP section should be revised to authorize the planning board the express ability to waive or restate the dimensional standards in master plan developments. We propose adding a subsection B to section 8.5 as follows. Section 8.5, tract size. MPDs are intended to result in a highly integrated development of diverse residential and non-residential uses of an urban rather than suburban character. 1, the minimum lot area for residential and multifamily housing in MPDs is 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit. 2, the planning board may waive or permit adjustment to the minimum lot area and other dimensional standards set forth in Table 4-1 of the zoning ordinances in order to achieve the purposes of this section. These additions to the proposed zoning ordinance will offer necessary clarity of appropriate business uses within the Portland Road District to ensure that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Please feel free to reach out to me at such a number and via email at such a place with any questions. Sincerely, Scott Edmonds, Esquire. And I'd be happy to provide these to Michelle for the record.
Yes, if you would please, so that she can place those
Thank you.
In the record. Any other comments in public for the public hearing? Attorney Gay or Attorney Katsifikis? No? Okay. All right then, if there are no more comments, Councilor Johnston, you have a motion.
I move to close public hearing and send the zoning, site plan, and subdivision ordinance and zoning map back to the planning board for further review.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Smart, to send the ordinance back to the planning board for further review. Any comments on that motion? To my left? Any comments to my right? Seeing none. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Do you have another motion, Councilor Johnston?
I further move to accept the planning board and historic preservation report on the proposed historic preservation section, Article 19.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Smart, to accept the Planning Board and Historic Preservation Commission report on a proposed Historic Preservation section in Article 19. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Councillor Johnston?
Yes.
Councillor Smart?
Yes.
Councillor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councillor Copeland?
Yes.
Councillor Doyle?
Yes.
Councillor Gay?
Yes.
And Councillor Archer?
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Councillor Johnston, do you have another motion?
I further move that the City Council send the Historic Preservation Section, Article 19 of the proposed zoning ordinance to a second and final reading and vote on November 18th, 2019.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Smart, to further move the Council and Historic Preservation section of the to a second and final reading and vote on November 18th. Any comments on that to my right? Any comments to my left? Councillor Archer?
Aye.
Councillor Gay?
Yes.
Councillor Doyle?
Yes.
Councillor Copeland?
Yes.
Councillor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councillor Smart?
Yes.
And Councillor Johnston?
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. That brings us to the administrative update. And,
No,
oh, excuse me.
E?
Oh, we are going to do E. Thank heavens, there's an E. So, Councillor Johnston.
this amendment will increase the number of Saco Police Department sworn officers from 35 to 37. The police department has not added any patrol officers positions since 2000, and the city has grown approximately 16% over that period. Approval of this budget amendment affords the police department the opportunity to adequately respond to community concerns, traffic complaints, and improve employee retention. Be it ordered that the City Council approve the second and final reading of Budget Amendment Number 3, fiscal year 2020.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councillor Johnston and a second by Councillor Smart. Any comments to my right? Seeing none. Any comments to my left? Okay, Councillor Johnston?
Yes.
Councillor Smart?
Yes.
Councillor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councillor Copeland?
Yes.
Councillor Doyle?
Yes.
Councillor Gay?
Yes.
And Councillor Archer?
Yes.
This motion passes 7-0 and will now take effect. Rather than go into administrative update, I'm going to recognize a recess for 10 minutes. And then when we come back, we'll come for council discussion and comment.
got it going on. But thanks for telling her to do that, or asking her if she would be kind enough to.
I mean, she knows firsthand how annoying it is when people just
She
leave
does.
you off stuff, because that's not great at saving a zero either, so.
Were we were waiting on McGill?
Right, we have all these conversations,
What's the purpose
and we
of
gotta
this?
go
To
figure it
wait
out.
on the attorney?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Neither do I.
I think it was, I think that's what it was.
Okay, so the council is back, and we have I think we got something from Mr. Sutherland in terms of an update, administrative update. He just wanted to inform us that he did a contract without an RFP because, and now I have to find the Sutherland. The smell on Route 1, that's right. And it was because of sole source. It's the only outfit that works on this, apparently. And so I have to look it up a different way.
Did he email it to council? I don't see it.
No, it was by telephone, so, yeah. It would be easier if you emailed it to council. Nope. Do you have that, Nathan?
His text? Yeah.
Okay, so he said it was for two reasons. One was
I
sole source.
authorized, well, I didn't, but Mr. Sutherland authorized an expenditure without an RFP to deal with the smell on Route 1. Urgency and sole source were my reasons. Just wanted to publicly share with council as required by policy. I'll give further details next week.
Okay, so we can't answer any of the questions associated with that. So we don't know, but he'll tell us next week exactly what happened that prompted him to do that contract. So next is council discussion and comment. Any comment or discussion? Am I right? Thank you, Councilor Archer.
Yes, I just wanted to bring it to the council's attention, and many people who know I shave all the time. It is No Shave November for cancer research, so I will look probably like Joe at the end of this month. So I'll shave on the 1st, but you're going to start seeing it grow. I'll clean up the neck, though.
Okay,
So.
good. All right.
All right.
Yep. Councilor Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everybody get out and vote tomorrow. Your single vote is very important.
Absolutely right. Very important. Any other comments to my right? Seeing none. To my left, Councilor Copeland.
I just want to let everybody know that the Cascade Falls Park has had a great work party there this weekend on Saturday, and it was amazing to see so many caring community members out there with chainsaws and paint and rakes and cleaning up. You know, there was kids there and people of all ages, and it was a beautiful way to see the community come together to care about nature. The waterfalls are now accessible. You can go in there, and there's a blaze trail on down there. Take the pink blaze, and you will your eyes will be delighted. And I want to thank the Saco Bay Trails folks, Ryan Gorman, and the Saco Conservation Commission, and all the people who just showed up and were there. So continue to support our parks and our trails and volunteer, and we will have a beautiful community. That was one event. I went to another one at the community center. The Saco Parks and Rec put on, in coordination with Age Friendly Saco. There were several seminars, I think 4 different breakout groups for issues affecting seniors and they can learn from. And they had a wellness fair and a raffle and Even the guys from the car dealership came down and helped people who had hands-free, because now we have the hands-free law on their phone, connect, their phone with their car, and so they're safe. And had a lunch with people there, and it was wonderful to see everybody come together and learn and support seniors. And this is just what community is all about, and I'm really proud to be
Yes,
here.
that was the 8th annual Wellness Fair. So they've been.
I don't know, maybe it was, yeah.
It was, yeah. They've been doing this for quite a little while now, so.
Yeah, and they had
Very
adaptive
successful.
devices, and they had a woman about hearing devices, and all kinds of wonderful things. I actually got my flu shot there. Maine Med was there, so
Oh, yeah.
it was a great way to support the community. I'm really proud of them.
Yeah. Any other comments to my left? Oh, Councilor Minthorn.
I'd just like to encourage everyone to be safe on Friday as we get our first snow of the season, and don't overdo in case it's a heavy, wet snow.
Thank you very much. Any other comments to my left? Seeing none, I'd like to have a motion to enter executive session.
Mr. Mayor, be it
Sir.
ordered the City Council enter into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056E, consultation with council regarding city administrator search.
Thank you very much. Actually, there are two matters, city administrator search and apparently something associated with the Department of Labor regulations. Do I have a second?
Not on the agenda.
Thank you very much. I have a motion by Councilor Minthorn, seconded by Councilor Gay to enter executive session. Any comments to my right? Seeing none. Comments to my left? Thank you. Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer? Yes. Motion passes 7-0. We're now in executive session. We will adjourn, I believe, to Mr. Sutherland's office. Hello,
We're live.
we are live. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council exit executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056E, consultation with council regarding city administrator search.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilor Minthorn, seconded by Councilor Smart at 9:36 to come out of executive session. Any comments to my right? Seeing none. Any to my left? Seeing none. Councilor Johnston? Yes. Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Archer?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We're now out of executive session. Is there any report?
Report from executive session is there is no report.
There is no report from executive session. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion from Councilor Minthorn, seconded by Councilor Gay. Councilor Archer? Councilor Gay? Yes. Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
The motion to adjourn passes 7-0. We are now adjourned at 9:37 p.m.